Hello. Today we're just going to be doing a very basic. I played Bystial Malice. Bystial Kashtira Malice. That's the deck I've been playing a lot recently. Uh, this is mainly what's changed my mind on Malice. I had said Malice was a brain dead cyber shifter deck. I'll explain why it's not in probably a different video. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Malice players, you might not get that apology. And I'm just going to talk about the deck list I've been playing, what to do if you've never played Malice before and you're kind of interested in the deck, or if you even just kind of want to know what it does. This deck is crazy, right? This deck is insane. So you do want to at least know what it can do. So, we'll get into it. Um, Playing 40 main, 15 side, 15 extra. These two are pretty standard. 40 main is questionable. I have seen, I think, go up to 42 was the highest I've seen if you want to play extra caches. But I don't like it. I think that you just play the bare minimum caches, and like you'll just draw them. And then they're decent going first, really good going second. There's good board breakers, but you can't guarantee you're going second, and you don't want to be. You want to go first, especially with a deck like this. Anyway, let's talk about it. For the Vistios, we're only playing four though. We're playing the one Magnemite and three Druisworm. These cards, if you don't know what the mouse cards do, then these will make way more sense later, and I'll kind of explain that when we get to the mouse cards. Druid Swarm's a great board breaker. This card is really good into exactly Ryziel, since you can just go um, effect, banish during their end phase, summon, and then crash and trade for the um, detonator. So yeah, really good into that. I mean, you still have to beat the hand traps, but it's super good. As well as being able to do stuff with your own Malice monsters. Though those are really good. One thing that you could theoretically do, if you want to skip out on the cashier cards and play more Bystials, I actually think if you're playing more Bystials, you actually want to cut down on Druisworms. You want to go down to something like two Druisworms, playing something like a Sarnier and a or Sarnier, sorry, not Sarnier. Obviously, Lubellions you're playing, which means that you're more likely to you actually are going up on copies of Druisworm by doing that. Since Lubellion can get you the Druisworms as well. But I do think Jerusalem's crazy. The fact that it can send a card on field when such a graveyard, and it's just so you can link it off for like an SP, banish something, send something, and now you've broken like 90% of boards, right? Like it's just kind of a weird thing to try and play through. That explains that part. Magnum because Magnum is that's Bastille. I mean, so sad it's limited to one, but it's crazy. And then we will get to the caches. For the caches, it's one Fenrir, two Unicorn as the monsters. I do want to discuss this actually a little more. Um, First of all, Fenrir's not that good. I'm sorry, it is just getting popped into the sun. There's never a situation against Ryziel you're resolving this. Against Malice, it's okay since they kind of want to banish things. But this can just get traded for by Packbit. Um, mm, Packbit is really good into the Kashtira part of the deck, especially if you only draw it. Unicorn is the one you really want to draw. You play Fenrir is kind of like a card you can search theoretically off Races, but he's not the main guy. I mean, he's good because you can grab Unicorn, but then you can't special the Unicorn unless you hard drew Birth, which in which case, if you drew Fenrir or Birth, I mean, that just kind of sucks for you. Um, Unicorn gets Birth. Birth is two bodies. Ripped extra deck if your opponent even attempts to hand trap you. Just overall insane. And the card I was just talking about, Birth. The fact that it lets you normal summon level 7s means that in a lot of situations, if you do end up unfortunately drawing two caches, they're not dead in hand. That's really nice. Birth, of course, is a revive. It lets your unicorn represent two bodies. It still lets you get the hand rip at the end of the combo. And especially if one of the most common things, if you draw like a starter plus like but what's this card called? Plus the unicorn, then you can just banish a card off, or you can just it lets you end on a hard script or on board instead of having to summon it off of the white binder. If none of that meant anything to you, don't worry. Oh, and then one copy of the field as well. So it grabs because it's flexible. All right, we're gonna kind of try and speed through the Malice part of the deck, but I will still explain it. Three white rabbit, second best starter in the deck, sets you any of your traps, which I guess I should probably talk about the traps here. Playing each one at one copy each. Every Malice monster has the effect that when they're banished, they can resummon themselves by paying a certain amount of life points. The main decks are 300, the extra deck is 9. Now, the three traps, and you're playing one of each. MPT 07, which lets you add a Malice monster and then banish a card on field if you control Link. GWC6, which reborns or from Grave or Banish and can gain you life, and TB11, which can summon a Malice monster from your deck or if your opponent controls 3 or more cards, can summon one from extra. The reason these traps are insane is that they can be activated the turn they're set by banishing a Malice monster. So that means that's why White Rabbit's really good. Um, all right, so the next one you guys want to talk about, Dormouse, Dormouse, Dormouse. The best card in the deck, 1 card combo. Pretty much every single combo guide will start with this card. It's crazy. It just on summon banishes a Malice monster, so you can banish the White Rabbit, and White Rabbit get back into the game. 1 Cozy Cat. Now this card is 1 card that I would definitely, if you're trying to play this deck, especially if you're not trying to buy the caches, or you like, oh, I'm already spending a bunch of money on this deck, I don't want to spend an extra like 50, 60 bucks for the caches, you can absolutely go up on this and it's completely fine. Um, what can I say about Chesty Cat? Chesty Cat banishes a card in hand and draws 2, which means it's extension. It means if you start off with the field spell, because you search a field spell along your combo, and you can't activate 2 in a turn. So if you start off with the field spell, it makes it crazy. And finally, of course, the 3 Malice field spell, Malice and Underground. Malice and Underground just banishes a Malice monster on activation, which usually, if you get since there's 3 Malice main deck monsters, if you go Dormouse into White Rabbit, that's 2 of them, since they can only resummon once per turn. So that means that now you have to try and find a way to get a third, and the field spell is your way. And then just kind of for the, not really garnets, but like the one-ofs. This is actually a garnet. Dotscaper is 3 link materials, so it can make Decode, Heat Talk, or Heat, so if you draw it, but you really don't want to normal summon this. If you're normal summoning this in worst case scenario, you play it because you can banish it from deck. Terraforming Gold Shark are just full combo by themselves. They're just extra copies of the field spell, basically. I'm not going to really speak on those. Talents, 1 talent and 3 Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse is crazy. Once again, to Raizio. It's really, this card just wins the mirror if you're playing, even if you're playing a different deck. If you're playing against this deck, you just can just go Book of Eclipse when they have Dormouse and White Rabbit on field. If they go Dormouse, banish Rabbit, White Rabbit back, and then when they activate the effect to set a trap, you can just, if you Book of Eclipse, their turn just ends. It's crazy. Talents is just really good right now. Just taking Detonator if you really want to. You can look at Hand is good. You only play 1 because I don't think any more is necessary. You will see it if you need it, and you're playing 1 more for side decking for the rust than anything else, but it's still good. Fool Loss, I'm not going to explain this card, and just draws, it's maxi. Ash stops Fool Loss, and also just generally pretty good right now. There's no fire decks, you don't have to worry about Hito very much. Imperm's probably the single best hand trick right now. The reason Fool Loss is good is because it gets you into Imperm. It lets you draw Imperm. It's not once a return, it's a targeted negate, it doesn't trigger challenge. There's just so much upside for these cards. And then the last 2 cards of the deck are 2 nibs. If you were to go up to 41 with this deck, it'd be the 3rd nib. 42 would be Chesty Cat. 43 would be the 3rd Chesty Cat. Those are all things I've thought of. I think it's bad, though. I'm not going to do it, but you could absolutely do it. Extra deck time. All right, let's just talk about, the Link ones real quick. I think I'm going to assume that you guys are fairly familiar with Cybers, but I'll just quickly explain the card. Link Decoder, it turns 1 body into 2. It's crazy. Link Spider turns a Nib token into an effect Cybers monster. Crazy. Link Karibo just wins most mirror matches because you can turn off if they end on a GWC6 to reborn a Link monster. Then you can, if you immediately make Link Karibo, now that's off. Especially in especially if you hand trap mouse once or twice, then Link creates stuff. As for our Link 2s, we're gonna, I guess, talk about the kind of normal ones, and then we'll talk about the deck specific. IP, SP, Cybers, and then one just and it's SP. I'm not gonna explain it. It just banishes cards. It's crazy. I've said that a lot, but it's just true. This entire deck is crazy. That's really unique Link 2s, kind of. Well, not really. But if you played Cybers, you know Splash Mage, so I'm not even gonna really talk about it. Just revives. It's 1 extra Link. Wizard Haggardoise is a terrible card. This card sucks. However, it banishes a monster from your graveyard. Therefore, in a board state where you have White Rabbit and see, the problem is that Splash Mage Cyber locks you. So if you still want to be able to push further in, you can make Hazard Ligadores, banish 1 from grave, and now, guess what? That's an extra body, and that's a Link 3. And the Link 3s are important because, yeah, that's what this deck has. We'll talk about, it's Decode Talker Heat Souls in here in case you just hard draw There's a few board states where you can make this thing. It's not that good, but Splash Mage can make it pretty much by itself by like making it and then making like a link decoder and then summoning back a link decoder, and now you have a Heat Soul. So it's not bad, right? Uh, all right. Actually, I think we're gonna wait. We're gonna discuss a few other cards before we get to the Malice Link monsters. Access Code Tucker. Access Code just is, it just outs the board, right? There's not much I can really say. It outs the entire board by itself. Firewall Neo type of terahertz and has two targets. We're playing Packbit and a Disable Worm. Disable Worm is a spell trap negate, and this can push something into the back row. Really bad against Centurion. Really, but like, I mean, it's fine, right? I think I've synchro summoned this card once in my life. Talents took a level 2, and then made with a Bystial link made it, which was really funny actually. But Packbit's good. Tempest is just a link 5, right? It's just the biggest guy that you can make. So 3 links, let's talk about them. Hearts Cryptor, Red Ransom, White Binder. Red Ransom is usually the one you're summoning first, so we'll talk about it first. Red Ransom is 2 side down. Link 3 requires 2 monsters, including a Mallet. Remember, only 2. This is important. That you don't, and they do not need to be Cyberse monsters. That's what's important. That's why you play Lizard Hacker Hoist, because you can just make this with it. Red Ransom adds a on summon, and this is not on link summon. It's on special summon. So that means if you revive it later, you will get the effect, but it is still once per turn. So if you Red Ransom, you can add a copy of the field spell because it's the only Malice spell we have. If we get new Malice spells and new ways of support, then change what I just said here, basically. It has the effect that when it's banished, it can resummon itself by paying 9, and as a bonus effect, it banishes a Cyberse from deck. All the Link monsters have these crazy effects when they're, which lets you get your Dotscaper, so that's why that's there. You can link these two in Splash Mage back, and then you can make the next card we're going to talk about, White Binder. White Binder is a hard solo deck. This is the best Link monster. This is the monster that you're probably always making. Like, Red Ransom, if you have access to a copy of Field Spell, sometimes you don't make it. Sometimes you want it just to banish off a Chesty Cat to draw 2, but White Binder is incredible. This card on summon targets 3 cards in either graveyard banishes. So not only is this extension if you've already gone through your links to resummon them, not only is this follow-up, because if you make it during your opponent's turn, you can banish cards to get plays. This is also has 2 other effects that are both crazy. It can, once per turn, set a Malice Trap from your graveyard or deck, which is really nice because White Rabbit, or it's not White Rabbit, sorry, it's the way to recycle if they get into hand or deck. Or Graven Hand, sorry. And if they get banished, then you can get them back in a different way, which I'll explain in a second. And then if it's banished, it summons itself and draws cards. This is how you draw like 4 cards in this deck. 1 off of the White Binder, 2 off Chesty Cat, and then 1 off a White Binder during your opponent's turn. It's 4 plus 4 off 1 card. It's crazy. Finally, Hudscriptor. Hudscriptor is the big girl. The problem with her is that she is a Link 3 that requires 3 monsters. So that means that Link climbing really just does not work with her. You can't. That's why Decode Talker Heat Soul, or not Heat Soul, sorry. The Link Decoder, thank you, is this card. Is 2 bodies, and it actually lets you make Hudscriptor really easily. You can link it in something off for like a Splash Mage back. Or sorry, you can have this on field, still make Hudscriptor, and then that's 2 materials and 1 more body into a Terahertz, and you can revive this during your opponent's turn. Because you can GW6, summon White Binder, banish Red Ransom, banish this to get them back, and then banish a card from your opponent's graveyard, or a White Rabbit, depends on what you need. Hudscriptor, now let's talk about Hudscriptor. Hudscriptor is your main, it's this and TD 07 that are the main interactions in the deck. She can return a banish card to your deck to banish a card on field, which is crazy. It's the way you get your traps back into rotation constantly, so you can banish them from graveyard to get fodder for her, and then, throw her back. That's usually why your first White Binder is usually targeting Red Ransom, maybe one of the main decks that you haven't used yet, and a copy of the field spell. Or field spell, copy of a trap, just to try and get it out there, because that way you have to shuffle, because you have to have shuffle fodder for her. That's the one thing that you have to remember. If you're going to banish cards, you have to keep them up, right? Now, when this card's banished, it can return to the field by paying 9, as all the extra do. And it can then proceed to double its attack. So it'll go up to 5k. This is a great OTK tool. Speaking of which, I should probably talk about this when I talked about the field spell. The field spell has two other effects, and they're more relevant with Heart Scripter than anything else. Heart Scripter, um, when it doubles its attack, it can also go up to 8k. It's 25 double to 5, but if you have all the Malice traps managed, she gains an extra 3. That's because of the field spell. And the field spell also says that your opponent can only attack these guys, so they're more than you protect your entire board. Your SP is just so protected. And Red Ransom has an effect that's kind of relevant here, which I should have talked about once again when I talked about her, but I thought it was better to wait till now. While she points to a Malice monster, or while she points to a monster, full stop, she basically switches the attack and defense of all your opponent's monsters. It's really weird. It doesn't super come up that often, but it can matter. So it's good to at least remember to keep the board set legal. Let's talk about the side deck real quick, and we're pretty much out of here. Shifter, your Shifter deck. I'm not going to explain it. Shifter is the best card in the deck if you need it. The card that beats you into the sun, Artifact Lancia. What happens if you get Artifact Lancia? You pray to God you drew Dotscaper. This is the only situation you want Dotscaper, and you're drawing 2 cards. That's it. Barrier and an Artifact Sanctum. These are your targets for Thrust. If you're going first, you usually can, one of these two wins the game usually. So Thrust plus the Lancia goes crazy. Cloud Bite for going first. And finally, Dominus Impulse. You really want matchups where this card's insane. You don't want this in matchups where it's bad. You want this in matchups where, like, against, like, Branded, where one Impulse wins the game. And there's not really any good way to stop Impulse. Impulse, you guys got, like, I guess you have Cross Out, but I'm pretty sure that deck doesn't even play Cross, or doesn't play Impulse as a Cross Out target. So, like, what are you going to do about Impulse, right? Impulse is just so good, but it's just not enough by itself to win you the game. That's been a mouse deck. I'm gonna probably figure out a good combos and combo guide for you guys later. I want all y'all to have a good day. If you're gonna pick up this deck, you know, just know the only expensive cards in this deck is okayly cheap, just considering the current meta, right? Like the fact that you can have this deck for, you can honestly, if you're gonna pick up this deck, just play 1 White Rabbit. It's really, you can play 3 Field Spell, play 1 White Rabbit, it's fine. If you want to play 2 White Rabbit, and just play Silent Minings. They play 1 White Rabbit, 1 Field Spell, and play Silent Minings. Play 3 of them, and then you can kind of make up the difference. It's not the exact same, it's worse, but like, you can do it, right? If you want to really play this deck on like $100 budget, that's the way to do it. However, if you're willing to go up and spend like $200, just buy the full deck at that point. It's really good. Hope you have a good day. But yeah. This is this was Kashtira Bystial Maliss. Maybe I can later explain my reasoning for why I'm not playing the other cards. Have a good day.